What's happening? What's up? What's up? What's up? Hey, yeah. Um, mic volume. Yeah, so we good. We good. Gucci. We should be all good on the sound and the picture and I don't know. What do they call calibrations? We should be all good. Except there we go. I was gonna say I'm not centered. And I'm smacking my mic around. What's happening, everybody? Hopefully, y'all are feeling very, very well. Hold on, y'all already know if my chair arm barely touches this microphone boom arm. I don't know what to call it. It barely touches the microphone. That thing wants to come all the way off of its little perch. But alas, we are back and we are super excited. So, hey, Sarah, what's happening? Sarah Cross is in the building. She was going to be here today. She's going to be here tomorrow next week. As you already know, tomorrow we got Miss Red coming back. Shout out Miss Red out there in Cali. But we are getting back into the religion of monetary value, and I am stoked. Okay, I'm stoked because, and let me just. Oh wait, first, no, yeah, I'm gonna show you first. I'm gonna show you first. Then I'm gonna do my intro here. But I am stoked because and I don't create these. Okay, the person that created them um will say codename Saint Nick. Saint Nick does not put his actual name and actual information on these things because they're AI creations, right? He doesn't want to maybe be like I'm the one that put these thoughts together. No, he compiles relevant text and materials to feed into his bots, and has it analyze in a certain very specific way the material, and it kicks out absolute beauty. Now this is 129 pages. Okay, so we are not going to read this today per se. We are going to read some of part 1 of this thing, which you can see part 1 is 12 chapters. So we're probably going to end up doing a part 2, part 3, part 5 of this series. But regardless, I am super duper stoked to get into it. But first, good people, if you are here, then you are in for real conversations, okay? About natural law, religion, the good, the bad, and the ugly of religion. The religion of monetary value, perhaps. We talk about money, talk about anarchy, culture, and how mankind is manipulated from the shadows by forces that do not have our best interests at heart, perhaps because they are completely evil. I don't know. But we are not bashing faith systems here. We are simply examining psychological affects and effects of the stories we have the most faith in and looking at how those stories help shape society. But that examination has to always go right alongside an honest look at the current human condition, which is slavery. Government is slavery, good people. And the question that we have to keep returning to on this channel is what can actually be improved with a proper understanding of the inner storyteller and how it works. Y'all say what's up to Sarah Cross. You know what I'm saying? Sarah Cross says, please like the video. Please smack the like button with the back side of your hand. Right? Give it a noogie and a wedgie. Take that. Going to dive into this content. Let me put my face in it. There we go. So boom. Let me zoom in. There we go. What this book is. This is a cross-referenced map of thought on money, value, obligation, and coordination, followed by a derivation of what a coordination system aligned with nature would require. Okay, so they created a like the like button like a boss. Exactly. They created. You see, I was rated G for this audience here. This document is designed to start putting real no to start putting AI generated ideas to what a coordination system aligned with nature, which means aligned with natural law, would actually require. Not what it would look like, but what would be the prerequisites and the requisites and the requirements to make one. Okay? 20 thinkers and schools are gathered here and read against one another. An independent contemporary author and a natural law lecturer, David Graeber, and the credit theory anthropologists who came before and after him, the mutual credit engineers and currency designers who have actually built and run non-state exchange systems, the commons theorists, the uh, chartalists, and the currency project cannot deliver what it promises. I wonder which one of those is me. No, I know which one is me. I'm the independent contemporary author. That's me. Not the one that says, oh, alternative means never will work. It will never work. That's not me. Okay. I have some thoughts in that direction for very specific claims, but not to the whole claim that an alternative system of, let's say, regulated coordination or regulated resource management is always going to turn out chaotic and evil like this one. Absolutely not. I think there are ways to do it alternatively. And it says, the question the whole volume answers comes in two parts, taken in order. Okay, two-part question, chronologically stated as follows. What is actually true about money, value, obligation, and coordination across traditions that rarely read one another? And only then, what would a coordination system aligned with nature actually require? The critique is the floor, not the ceiling. So the critique is laying out, establishing our premises, establishing our definitions, agreeing on the common ground that we have. And that's the critique. That's part one. From there, part two builds on what a new thing would actually require. So part one settles what can and cannot be established. Part two builds on what builds only on what survives the scrutiny. The materials are named plainly because a reader should know what a map was drawn from before trusting it. The primary corpus is by the way, it misspells my name throughout, but that's okay. Somebody probably using text, speech to text. But Soul Expressions, 2 books, Culture Control. That's this one. Hey, hello. Okay, let me make it big. Hold on. Let me let y'all see this for real. Here we go. Okay, and and The Inner Storyteller. My 2 books together with 3 live stream transcripts from his Religion of Monetary Value series here on YouTube. You're watching that right now. No. This will not be in that playlist. Sorry. This will be in the other one. But Religion of Monetary Value series, including the classifications stream of this month, August 2026, in which he sharpens several of his own positions. I had such a fun time with part 1 of this video, and AI analyzed my work against anthropology. Because here's the thing, right? with my work, I speak in a lot of absolutes. Let me back this up a little bit. I speak in absolutes, right? I have a habit of saying things in and the way that I word them, it's just, it's very fiery and punchy. And so an AI will take a transcript that doesn't have like tone of voice, it doesn't have the human feeling of timing. It may be able to analyze timing to a certain degree, um, next to, billions of data points on other people delivering speeches, making podcasts, whatever. But it can't feel timing like a human can. And all of those other things that separate AI from human. And the way that I speak, I make some strong claims sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So it takes all of that, or you should take all of that into consideration as we continue. So that I clarify, in which I sharpen several of my own positions. The axiological baseline. An axiom is like a essential core thought or essential core theme, if you will. I should probably actually define that. Let me axiom definition. An axiom is a statement or principle that is accepted as true without needing proof. Oh, I didn't even know it was that absolute, if you will. So the axiological baseline, the standard against which every quote unquote should in this book is tested, is Mark Passio's What on Earth is Happening podcast. All 236 shows treated as a corpus to be cited line by line and audited like any other source here. Now, I will say, and it was very beautiful how it ended up doing this. It did not focus on whether or not Mark Passio's podcast would approve on a certain message or a certain theme. It did not do that. It did not get lost in the minutia of trying to respect Passio's work. And instead, I think it did what it just said it was going to do in a very balanced and precise way. Um, Around these sits David Graeber's Debt: The First 5,000 Years book, and the Credit Theory Anthropology, the published corpus of the Meta Currency School. That's Arthur Brock and Eric Harris Braun, and the wider currency design lineage from Michael Linton to Bernard Leatier to Thomas Greco, E.C. Regal, Silvo Giselle, Margaret Kennedy, Charles Eisenstein. That's got to be German, right? Eisenstein, Ryan Fugger, Matthew. Okay, all of these names. Pardon me. The accounting lineage, blah blah, blase blah. Can I get a period somewhere, please? Here we go. Sister Mary. Okay, it's still naming names. It has a so as you can see, 20 thinkers have been assembled. Avengers, assemble. We have been assembled by this AI, and it cites everything. Okay, it gives citations for every major thing, and I am so excited. So we see that it has a table of contents. Chapter 1 is what is money, and chapter 2, ding ding ding, does monetary value exist? And guess whose work it super heavily analyzed in chapter 2? That's right, your boy. And I'm not super excited. It's not like a person, not like some sort of established thinker in the field, right, was going over my work. But it's just cool that it heavily, analyzed and put under scrutiny and put under the magnifying glass my ideas from my show in this thing, and I didn't get like totally overshadowed by the establishment. It makes me feel like I'm not shooting ideas out of my ass, right? It makes me feel like I'm onto something, maybe even over the target. Then chapter 3, along the same lines, is owing natural, installed, or contractual, or a combination, right? Chapter 4, is reciprocity one moral register among several, or the root of economic life, or simply a trap? Okay, reciprocity, which really means, like, let's say enforced reciprocity. Is enforced reciprocity one moral register among several moral registers, or the root of economic life, or a trap? Okay. Can value be priced? Chapter 5. Does the monetary system require a state? That's one of my claims. That's another chapter where it goes heavily into my work. And it felt really good. Okay, it did. What else we got? Chapter 7, what the historical record shows. Chapter 8, the empirical record of non-state currencies. And this was very interesting, chapter 8, because um it was getting into how how I'm right about there always being governance of an external nature that goes along with monetary systems. So whenever we're not going to get there today, but whenever we do get to chapter 8, we'll get to see and get to kind of conclude some things, because the literature supports some of what I put forth in my work. And I didn't know that, and I don't know. Let me make myself big real quick. And I don't know how much literature actually supports where I've landed with some of my ideas, because I'm not a researcher in that way. I'm a philosopher, but I'm not the same kind of philosopher that is produced by Harvard or some sort of academic accolades driven or I don't know, accolades motivated apparatus. My philosophy comes from being tired of essentially, I don't know, hating staying on Earth, and wanting to see if I can take this existence and make some sense of it. No pun intended on the money conversation. Make some sense of it, uh, and getting very serious about being accurate about what's true and what's not. Right. And that's the kind of philosophy I'm a contemplative philosopher, not a research based philosopher. I like to read, and I think reading is very important. And I spent a little time when I was a little younger, maybe 3-4 years ago, reading a lot. Okay, but I've always more so been a thinker. I like to think things through and get a feel and put myself out there and then get some feedback, come back to the drawing board, edit, fix, refine. And then eventually I have a piece of truth and I'll lock that in and I'll live by that and I'll move forward. Right? That's the kind of philosopher I am. So I don't know when science or some sort of field of study is actually going to support what I've said in my writings. And when I find out that there's literature that does, I get excited. Chapter 9, we got how living nature allocates, okay? How nature itself allocates itself to the users of nature. Chapter 10, what natural law permits, requires, and forbids in economic coordination. Chapter 11, the strongest objections to the whole alternative currency project. And chapter 12, what dissolution would require. Now you can tell I haven't looked at these at all because I just didn't get there. I fell asleep. That was enough reading for the day. So let's get into chapter 1. What is money? Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Are you excited? Put a 1 in the chat if you're excited. Here we go. Intro. Every plan to reform money, replace it, or renounce it rests on a prior answer to a question its advocates rarely state outright. What is the thing being reformed, replaced, or renounced? A community that builds a mutual credit exchange is betting its members' livelihoods on the proposition that money's proximate genus is a bookkeeping relation, not a scarce commodity. If the bet is wrong, the exchange collapses into scrip nobody will finally accept. A reader who concludes that money is not merely flawed, but a religion, the strongest thesis this chapter examines, reorganizes an entire ethical life around that conclusion. What counts as complicity, escape, or an act of daily worship performed without anyone noticing. Quote, what is money, end quote, is not a classroom exercise. It is upstream of whether an alternative currency survives its first liquidity crisis and of how seriously a reader should take their own bank balance. This chapter asks 20 authors, economists, anthropologists, sociologists, monetary. Oh no, I froze. Are we back? We're back. Okay. Two teachers working outside the academy, not which properties money has, but what kind of thing it belongs to. 19 of the 20 converge on some non-substance answer. Money as information, an accountancy record, a credit relation, a social convention, a symbol system of shaping flows, a view computed after the fact over a ledger, which means an opinion. A view means an opinion in that sentence. A ledger, excuse me, sorry. A creature of law. Okay, money is a creature of law, or money is, as I call it, a religion. And not one defends the pure commodity view. Not one of us 19 authors. Money is a scarce, marketable thing that emerged from barter. That's something that we all collectively reject. Okay, so not one defends the pure commodity view. Money is a scarce, marketable thing that emerged from barter as their own considered position. The live disagreement is not whether money is a thing, it is which non-thing it is. That's what it is. That's what we converge on. Which non-thing money actually is, and we kind of disagree here and there somewhere. And sorted correctly, that disagreement is smaller than it looks, because much of what reads as a contradiction is two authors answering the different questions with the same word. The chapter proceeds in three movements. First, showing what is money. First, showing what is money is really at least three questions that resolve differently. Second, sorting the field's answers by kind rather than by author. Testing which resulting disagreements are real, correcting a widely repeated exaggeration of how long credit preceded coinage, and working through the two authors who hold that money is a religion. Third, what stands and what remains open. Very beautifully, very carefully done. And I'm so stoked, guys. I'm so stoked. Let me get closer for no reason at all. And let's continue. Are y'all having fun? Is this boring that I'm reading? Because I know I get excited about these topics. I hope you guys get excited about these topics too. And let me just say this one thing. This is a podcast, right? Let me podcast a little bit before I continue reading. It is imperative for any freedom seeker, truth teller, rebel, contrarian even. It is imperative for those who go against the grain to really understand this question. What is money? Because first of all, everybody deals with it. Before you are out of the womb in the money game. Okay? There is no general aspect of life that's not fully integrated into the money game. And there may be plenty of moments and maybe even stretches of time where an individual doesn't deal too much with the money game, but that's a very rare thing. but it doesn't mean that those aspects of life are not fully integrated into the money system. And therefore, learning how to be a contrarian and learning how to rebel against the system, you have to know what system and systems you are rebelling against, and you have to know them well. You have to know what's the root, what's the trunk, what are the branches, and what are the leaves, and what is the fruit. And why are these things the fruit and not these other things? Why are these things the trunk and not the other things? Why is this the root and not something else? Okay. Very, very important. So that's why we're getting into this. And that's why I'm so excited that my work was chosen for this project here. Oh, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I could just die. I'm not going to. I'm not suicidal. I promise. I don't even think you can say that on YouTube, but I'm not offing myself. Okay. I'm very, very, I'm fine. I'm just saying, like, it makes me feel like, oh, I've left my mark. Done. Game over. Put the game away. I'm going back to heaven. I will see you guys when you get back. Here we go. The question is 3 questions, not 1. What is money? Conflates at least 3 separable questions once a currency is examined in operation. The first is money as a unit of account, the standard by which value is reckoned, whether or not it changes hands. Mesopotamians' silver by weight served as a fixed denominator for millennia before coined silver existed as a circulating object. The second is money as a medium of exchange. Okay, not just a unit of account for record keeping, but a medium of exchange that you can hand somebody for something else. This instrument that actually passes hand to hand, which may be a coin, a credit entry, or a commodity, issued by an authority, district, from whoever set the unit of account. Okay, and the third way to look at money, the third question to ask, is whether a currency should also serve as a store of value worth holding on to, not merely spending. Several authors treat these as properly separate. Thomas Greco holds that a currency's, quote, sole purpose is to facilitate the reciprocal exchange of value in the market. It is not a measure of value, nor is it a savings medium. And that the two functions are contradictory. If you want something to be a medium of exchange, it should be spent. If you want something to be a store of value, it should be held. That was in 2023. And Arthur Brock specifies that hollow fuel is deliberately designed as a value stable medium of exchange. Hollow fuel is a part of that credit system that they've been working on for years and years and years. Arthur Brock and Eric, was his name? Eric, I just don't want to get his name wrong. I'm sorry, real quick. And it's in the intro. Here we go. And base right around here. Arthur Brock and Eric Harris Braun. Harris Braun. Okay. Part 1. So, Arthur Brock specifies that hollow fuel is deliberately designed as a value stable medium of exchange, not a store of value. A departure from Silvio Gesell's demurrage fee solution to the same problem. Author Ingham approaches the split differently than both of them. The very idea of money is logically anterior and historically prior to market exchange. The unit of account. Oh, excuse me. Quoted in Stefan. Okay, yeah, sorry. The unit of account question is not merely separable from the medium of exchange question, but actually prior to it. Okay, whether or not it's a unit of account or a medium of exchange is looked at wrong in this person's eyes and Ingham's eyes, the unit of account question comes prior to the medium of exchange question. Greco's claim is normative. Brock's design choice made for that reason is normative. Brock's a design choice made for that reason. Ingham's a claim about logical historical order addressed to a question Greco and Brock never asked. A reader who treats what is money as one question will find these colliding. A reader who separates the three will find they mostly do not compete for the same ground, and the genus question needs asking 3 times, not once. A fourth question sits alongside without being a fourth function. Passio and sole expression ask not what a unit of account or medium of exchange is made of, but what sustains any of these functions, real world operation at all. What maintains the real world function of money? A claim cutting across all three treated last because it is the chapter's hardest call. That's right, good people. Those of us that live in the big picture, okay, those of us that deal with the ontological essential function of a thing are where the buck. It's like it's very important to get to the bare essentials of a thing. It's just so important to do so. And as you can see, right, a claim cutting across all 3 other questions treated last because it is the chapter's hardest call. So let me tease you a little bit more, and then we're going to scroll down to where it gets into it. But this is important too. So 20 authors read in the order convention supplies, look like 20 separate quarrels, sorted by what each says money's proximate genus is. The field resolves into far fewer positions. Much of the apparent quarreling is authors answering different questions with the same word. This principle does more work in this book than any other single observation. Divergence at the level of proximate genus is the deepest kind of disagreement 2 authors can have, and arguments built on different genera do not collide. They talk past each other. Money supplies the cleanest illustration. Graeber holds that money has 2 faces at once. One side, it's a thing, capable of entering into definite relations with other things. The other, a token, a relation between persons in society. And that's from Debt, the First 5,000 Years book, chapter 4, apparently. The 2 faces sort money into 2 categories of being. Money a commodity, a substance worth grounding its own stuff, grounding in its own stuff, worth grounded in its own stuff, and money as credit or record, a relation, real only as long as it holds. Passio and independently sole expression add a third genus. Neither face actually captures. Money as a religion, unquestioned belief, or religion control system, a quality of a state of collective mind, an argument that money is a commodity, one that it is a credit record, and one that it is an installed belief are not competing answers to one question. They answer what a unit of money is made of, what relation the token encodes, and what sustains people's participation, and none refutes the others because none describes the same category of being. The religion claim is examined in full below. So, a subtler example shows the same trap inside a single word. Ingham writes, in 2 consecutive sentences, quote, both the logical and historical origins of money are to be found in the state. Only an authority can overcome the anarchy of barter and impose a uniform money of account. Now we know that barter came after money, but regardless, authors Regal, Greco, Fugger, and Brock all deny the state is needed to run a working currency, specifying instead an alternate governing body. A valid association's redemption rule, mutual credits bylaws, a chain of bilateral credit limits. This looks like flat contradiction, but none denies that some ruling instituting body must fix a uniform unit of account before a token counts as money. What they deny is that the body must be a state. Ingham oscillates between two senses of authority: authority as coercive fiscal state or a territorial tax levying power, and the weaker authority of money of account or an anchor, money as an anchor, any body, public or private, that fixes and maintains a uniform unit of account. Under the second reading, a mutual credit association's own governing board satisfies his requirement as readily as a treasury does, and the contradiction dissolves. Which sense he intends is unsettled. We can't ask him because AI made this without asking him. His own account of modern money as a hybrid, memorable alliance of state and private banking authority already treats a non-state institution as co-instituting, an instance of verbal form fallacy, erroneously supposing that similarity in the form of language signifies a corresponding similarity in meaning. But Knapp's chartal theory raises the same ambiguity, restricting his own claim to the state theory of money, kept separate from the economic reflections on money, evidence that even he intends a narrower state-specific claim. What the field actually holds. Sorted by proximate genus, the 20 positions cluster into a few families, and the largest finding is what is missing. No author defends pure money as a commodity as a considered position of their own. It survives only as a face of Graeber's disjunctive definition and is the genus every credit theorist and rational theorist here argues against. The textbook account most of this corpus's authors take themselves to be refuting, money as a scarce, marketable commodity that emerged from barter, is not, on this evidence, held by anyone here in their first position. Okay, and now my brain is telling me go ahead and get to the juicy money as a religion part. Okay? So as you can see, we got where the real dispute lies. You know what I'm saying? We got some stuff in here that feels contested. This dispute remains contested. This revolution remains contested. The property is real for universal acceptance currencies. That's verified as structural, but its existence to bounded trust money, where the relevant cost is routing and liquidity rather than learning many units, is contested. Da 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 da. Should we store it in our wallets? Blah blah blah. Okay. Is this the word and the thing? Is this? Oh no, this isn't it. I'm sorry. It's here we go. Is money a religion? Sorry about that. I knew I was close. Guys. Don't judge me. Okay? Here we go. Two authors make the strongest ontological claim in this chapter. That's me and Mark Passio. Okay? Two authors make the strongest ontological claim in this chapter. That money is not merely a convention, a record, or a relation, but instead a religion. Mark Passio says, quote, money is the religion that controls the world. It is the only hugely unquestioned belief system on earth. Christianity can only dream to have this kind of conversion rate. I completely agree. Soul Expression reaches a similar conclusion across two books. Quote, the mother of all religion is the religion of monetary value. The father of all religion is the religion of man's authority. This claim deserves the same rigor as every other genus claim in this chapter. Soul Expression's genus is stated twice. Religion, on its surface, is a belief system predicated on influences of behavior. Beneath the surface, it is a control system meant to guide the emotional reactions of individuals in accordance with the rules and desires of the priest class. Hold on, I just got a message. Oh, okay. I did not. A group got a message that I'm in, and it wasn't addressed to me. So, religion on its surface is a belief system predicated on influences of behavior. Beneath the surface, it is a control system meant to guide emotional reactions of individuals in accordance with the rules and desires of the priest class. That's from my book, Culture Control, guys. And more broadly, quote, any faith based idea that has potential to hold one back from the truth is a religion. That's from The Inner Storyteller, which you can find in the Linktree. Passio's related genus is a belief system whose adherents do not examine it, measured by its conversion rate. The claim, went too far. There we go. The claim is best The claim is best assessed in two registers. The first is definitional. Any belief system operating beneath the surface as a control mechanism, sustained by ungrounded belief, serving those who administer it, is, on the stipulated genus, a religion. The belief that monetary value exists satisfies each element. Therefore, that belief that monetary value exists is a religion. I didn't say it, guys. AI said it. Okay? Get at chat or whatever AI made this shit and yell at them because it's a religion, guys. I'm sorry to say, okay? If you hold religion as the highest thing to aspire to get into in this life, if you hold religion as the most important thing for all human beings to be a part of and join and do the rituals of and love with all their heart, mind, and soul, that is your prerogative and you have every right to feel that way. I'm sorry that money is a religion and that even though you Christianity, capitalism, whatever, if you feel that way about a certain religion and you don't feel like the other religions have the same amount of power or potential for power, I'm sorry to admit, money has your religion beat by the billions. Okay, money has your religion beat by the billion. And there are billions who adhere to Christianity. There are billions that adhere to Islam, but money has both of them beat by a long shot. Okay, the entire world, there's what four little islands or regions that have humans that are not engulfed in this religion, that didn't accept this religion, um, that I can think of. That's not a definite number, but I don't think there's more than 10 regions of the world with humans occupying it, that humans have been there for a while, that's not a part of the monetary system, the global monetary system. Pardon me. So, uh, that belief satisfies. Where is it? That belief satisfies each element. Therefore, that belief is a religion. Oh, let me put the text back up so y'all can see. Right here. 3 terms. A middle term distributed in the universal major premise, formally valid on the terms stipulated. The further move to the mother of all religions, temporal and causal priority over every other religion, requires an unstated premise that the earliest religion is entitled to the word mother, plus a separate empirical claim that this belief that this belief in fact generates every other religion. Neither is settled by the syllogism, and no independent evidence was for either was located. And that's another example, very short, very briefly, of where I use absolute language to describe things. When I say money is the mother of all religions, I don't care if money just showed up 10 years ago during my life, exploded and became what it is today by, 10 years later by today. I say the mother of all religions because it is the space for which all religious doctrine and dogma and ritualizing and performance, it gives rise, and it gives space for those things to happen, right? Like, you can say space is the mother of all things, whereas movement is the father of all things. Okay, it's more so a masculine and feminine claim than it is a first and second chronological order claim. Okay, and so I say the mother of all religion because I say the mother and father of all religions because they're the biggest, right? Money and government, or money and governance, external governance, are the biggest religions. Therefore, I call them the mother and father. But they are also some of the oldest, as money, money and credit and whatnot goes back at least 5,000 years. Boom. The second register is analogical of paradigm religions. It has a God function. This religion has a God called the market. A clergy function. You have the central banks, you got the bank tellers, you got financial institutions, you got the IRS, you got security transfer agents that work at the bank. You got the credit unions, you got the bodies that set the rules for how the sacred symbols move. And then you have a congregation. That'd be us, right? Everyone who participates in the system and treats the symbol as though it has the same reality as the labor, the sweat, the equity, the resources, the human energy that it claims to represent. And it has a founding myth, the barter origin story taught in every economics textbook, already found wanting above. This book applies the standard it applies everywhere else. Analogical inference can be only probable, and its worth depends upon the importance of resemblances rather than the importance of resemblances rather than the number of resemblances. By that standard, the four resemblances are not superficial. Each names a functional structural role, raising the analogy's probability. But the same generosity of genus licenses calling science, celebrity worship, and law enforcement religions too, on identical reasoning, a scope problem for any argument trading on the word's specific force, since the genus swallowing nearly every doctrinaire institution has little work left to single out money, or to single money out. The strongest case against what I'm saying here turns on differentia itself, unquestioned, unexamined adherence, testable against this book's own mutual credit designers. That would be Pfluger, Riegel, Greco, and Brock and Harris Braun, whose practice presupposes self aware, consenting participants who know exactly what a credit ledger does, the opposite of an unexamined congregation. Passio's own comparative claim that money's conversion rate exceeds even the most successful historical religions is nowhere independently corroborated here, and remains an assertion rather than a measurement. Recent formal work on resource allocation mechanisms bears on the point unexpectedly. A provably efficient allocation token can be built with no money-like properties at all. No price, no exchange, surrendered on winnings a surrendered on winning a contested resource and regained on yielding it. The karma mechanism, showing that coordination does not, as a matter of formal necessity, require money's specific grip, which weakens without refuting the claim that this grip is a necessary rather than contingent feature of this one solution. The honest verdict is undecidable, not because the question is trivial or the sides are equally weak, but because it is genuinely value laden and definitional at its root, and the evidence cannot adjudicate it. The case for this is real. The definitional register is formally valid once its genus is granted, and the analogical resemblances are structural, not just cosmetic. The case against is real. The differentia meant to distinguish it is empirically contestable against the corpus's own most self-aware participants. The comparative measurement the claim's strongest form requires was never supplied, and the same reasoning that makes the analogy probable for money makes it apply almost everywhere else. Reasonable readers can come down on either side. Two findings sharpen without settling how far the attribution should extend. Soul Expression's second book contains a self-qualification absent from his more polemical passage. Polemical. The quote: the focus shifts away from examining the legitimacy of centralized extraction and toward a generalized suspicion of accumulated wealth, regardless of how it was obtained. And that narrows the attribution to illegitimate centralized extraction, not just accumulated wealth as such. And Passio's corpus holds a broader unqualified position. He holds that some voluntary harm-free trade lies within natural law rights, and every monetary system perpetuates a bondage-like scarcity consciousness, with no stated bridge principle reconciling the two. The attribution is broader in Passio's hands than it is in Soul Expression's. Conclusion: what stands once 20 positions are sorted by kind rather than by name? That money's proximate genus is exhaustively a commodity is refuted, obviously. That it is instead some kind of relation, not a substance, is verified, absolutely, as dominant because and best evidence position held by 19 of the 20 authors examined. Whether there further disagreement about which kind of relation doesn't matter. That credit and accounting substantially preceded coined money is verified. That barter was a society's primary origin mode of exchange is refuted. That no barter of any kind ever preceded money or credit in undocumented prehistory is undecidable. What remains open is open for a stated reason. Whether money's genus properly includes store of value status is contested, and whether money's convention dependence is properly analogized to religion specifically rather than to law, language, or contract is undecidable. Not a verdict of ignorance, but the honest report that a case cannot exist on each side and has no further reading here that would settle which should carry more weight. One further limit is worth stating plainly. Soul Expression's two books restate their central claims: that monetary value is belief, that this belief functions as a religion, and that fear of death secures obedience to it. Dozens of times across 20,000 combined lines, this chapter cites each claim once and its clear statement. An omitted claim restates material already cited uh, rather than extending it. Oh, claim restates. Sorry, claim restates material. So an omitted claim restates material already cited rather than extending it. So if there's something omitted, it's because it restated material already cited. Sorry about that. The way AI words things sometimes doesn't jive with my brain at first. Okay, the three-way split that this chapter opened with is worth restating. What is money? Was never one question, right? And then it gets into, does monetary value exist? But I'm not going to read to you guys for hours and hours and hours. I think 1 hour is pretty good. We went through a nice chunk of chapter 1 and we got to read the conclusion. Again, it's so cool to me that my material was chosen by this person who's doing this project, basically trying their best to aid in the shared human objective of exiting the system and building a better one to replace it. I'm very happy to be a part of said work, even if a lot of my material has to do with, just pointing out and acknowledging the unreality of the current system. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments, please. Thank you so very much for being here. Remember, question that we always have to return to on this channel is, what story are you willing to live? And I will see you all tomorrow with Miss Red right here on the channel. Peace and love always in all ways.